So at about 2:19 p.m. today, our SWAT team was serving a drug search warrant at 5614 Lejeune Drive. As our SWAT team entered the residence, they encountered a man who was reaching behind a door where a rifle was located. Our one deputy fired his service weapon, striking the man. Our deputies rendered first aid, and he was transported to the hospital, where unfortunately he later passed. We were at this house a couple of weeks ago in reference to a domestic violence call. While we were there, deputies found trafficking amounts of fentanyl and cocaine, as well as 2 guns, loaded guns, one of which was stolen. So this search warrant was related to an ongoing narcotics investigation that started at that initial call. So the Florida Department of Law Enforcement will be investigating this deputy-involved shooting. They will turn their findings over to the state attorney's office. Once that review is complete, we will do our own internal investigation. The deputy who fired a service weapon has been put on paid leave pending an initial review. There is body worn camera footage of the incident, which I have reviewed, and we will release that within 30 days. So very preliminary information. That's all we have right now, but happy to take any questions.
Did the deputies see the rifle in question?
So that's all part of the investigation. I know that a semi-automatic rifle was recovered behind the door where the deputy saw the person reaching. I did see that video, and it's clear that the person is reaching for something, and there was a rifle found behind that door.
Have you had an encounter with this man before on those prior calls for DV?
So the man has not yet been identified. I can tell you we went to that residence a couple of weeks ago related to a domestic violence call, and I don't have all the details on that, other than to say that we found trafficking amounts of fentanyl and cocaine and 2 loaded firearms, one of which was stolen.
Just to clarify, I know you said this, but the man who was involved with what happened today, he's not necessarily related to the domestic violence call. He just happened to go to that house previously.
Yeah, so the man has not been identified yet. So until we identify him and notify next of kin, we'll be able to find out if he was the person originally at that domestic violence call when this whole investigation started.
Everybody good?
At the first domestic violence incident, though, when you found the trafficking amounts of fentanyl, was that stuff taken out and arrests made, or that was left there and then the warrant had to be?
No, so when we responded, obviously anything that we found in plain view, because we were there for domestic violence, was collected. The guns were all collected. So that started an ongoing narcotics investigation, which led us to develop probable cause that more drugs, more guns, cell phones related to those cases would be in the house, and that's why the judge signed the search warrant for that residence. I don't have that information right now.
Sheriff, we're taking this live and just got to it. I was wondering if you could just kind of give us a recap for our viewers just joining.
Yeah, so today at 2:19 p.m., our SWAT team responded to 5614 Lejeune Drive to serve a drug search warrant. They entered the residence. While inside, they encountered a man who was reaching behind a door where a rifle was eventually located. One deputy fired his service weapon, striking the man. Our deputies rendered first aid. He was later transported to the hospital and pronounced dead. Again, we were there 2 weeks ago for a domestic violence call where we found drugs, trafficking amounts of fentanyl and cocaine, a stolen firearm, as well as another gun. That led to a narcotics investigation. We were able to get a search warrant to search for more drugs and more weapons related to that ongoing narcotics investigation.
Was there anybody else in the house at the time?
There was no one else in the house at the time.
Did deputies give a verbal warning to the man before he shot?
I heard multiple verbal warnings as they entered the house and while they were inside the house. They clearly said, SWAT team, search warrant, hands up, numerous times on a loudspeaker.
Sheriff, can you tell
Yeah, so the reason we use SWAT teams is because this case just illustrates how dangerous this is for our deputies. You know, going into a home where we know loaded guns, have already been recovered, where we know trafficking amounts of fentanyl and cocaine have already been recovered. So that's why we used our SWAT team, highly trained individuals who are trained specifically to do this, to help safely clear these households, have people come out peacefully and surrender peacefully. And in the vast majority of the search warrants and the SWAT search warrants that I have been involved with, that I have seen, that people usually surrender peacefully. That didn't happen in this case.
Does this person have a violent background?
Like I said, the person has not been identified yet.
Sheriff, we talked about the danger of this, and often that danger comes from the speed at which this unfolds. How fast between when the SWAT team got to the door and when they opened fire?
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, you talked about the danger of this, and that often entails the speed of these events. How much time passed between when they got to the door and first announced themselves to when they wound up opening?
So I don't have the exact time, but I will tell you that I watched the entire video. And as deputies were approaching the house and knocking on the door, gave clear commands that it was the sheriff's office, that we had a search warrant to open the door. They did forcibly open the door, and we use a loudspeaker from outside the residence that continually says, "Search warrant, hands up." You guys will all see and hear that. And like I said, most people surrender peacefully in these cases.
Anything else you can tell us about the weapon? Was it modified in any way?
I couldn't tell. To me, it looked like your standard semi-automatic rifle.
Everybody good? Thank you, Sheriff.